The Modern Samurai Interviews with Martin Ricketts, the Digital Samurai, hosted by Anita Narayan. Learn faster, work smarter, get things done.
In this interview, Martin talks with Anita about how to build your brand using social storytelling and targeted content that adds value to your target audience.
I wonder, this is a good point to go on to the next topic, the topic of content. There's kind of about three things I want to explore with you. Firstly, what the relevance of content is, but also what sort of content entrepreneurs should be creating, and also how they break that overwhelm of being consistent with it. And I want to start that first bit, what is the relevance, by kind of putting a scope out there, because I hear like a scope of opinion on this. On the one hand, people say you've got to post on social media 4 times a day. On the other hand, the other end of the spectrum, I hear, no, get right to the point, do a webinar or something that showcases your expertise. So with that in mind, what is the relevance of content in this whole sales and marketing process, Martin?
Well, it starts with the relationship people have to your brand. And that is, of course, built over time. But the way you build that relationship now, this is the good news, is social media. People this on social media. But it is the best way to build your brand and build relationships where then people over time will get to know, like, and trust you and then buy what you have to offer. It's a fantastic way of doing that. And the language of social media is storytelling. And for storytelling, you need video. Because people don't like to read. You can certainly do all the rest of the types of media, video, audio, text, all of that. But video is really the one that's going to move the needle. And so content is king. That's an old saying. People have said that for a long time. But in fact, I would update that to say content is king, content is important, but context for the content is even more important. And that is, people want customized solutions. They want specific stuff to them. So you have to do specific stuff for specific verticals and not just generic content. And as far as the amount of content you do, you want to do as much as possible. You want to put lots of content out on the internet and then let people self-select and decide if they like it and opt in and that kind of thing. But it all comes down to you becoming a content engine and cranking out that content, relevant, curated, targeted content.
Right, and that's really interesting because, I've heard you say before that about social storytelling and how that relates to building your brand. So when it comes to content, you mentioned video content. What sort of content should an entrepreneur be creating? Well,
because the algorithms like video on all of the sites, LinkedIn, YouTube, Facebook, you want to do video content that tells your message, right? So whether it's just a short little selfie video or a full production video, you want to create whatever it is in content. We take people's old content and we repurpose it into video content. So if you have PDFs or documents you've written, we can repurpose that into videos. But whatever it is you're doing, you want to do videos. And it does depend on the platform, what the length of videos, that kind of thing. But 3 to 5 minute videos are really good for the Facebook and LinkedIn and things like that. You can do certainly longer ones as well for webinars content. And typically what you do is you do a whole bunch of content that you put out on a daily basis that's short. And then that drives people to a webinar, a masterclass, or some sort of long seminar, or some sort of long content like we're doing here, where you're adding more value. But to get people in the first place interested, you typically want to do that short content that's 3 to 5 minutes.
Right. And why lots of content? I mean, some people say 4 times, some even say more than that. Why lots of content per day?
Well, it's really simple. It's the algorithms will see you more. And the more the algorithms see you, the more they're going to put you in front of people and the more leads you can generate. And the key thing with this is, unlike the transactional way of doing sales, where you're generating all the leads and then you've got to follow up all the leads, this way, yes, we are generating leads with the content, but then the leads are automated through the process where you give them an offer. So you're always doing the same thing, whether it's 10 people that are seeing it. And at the beginning, that's exactly what it will be because you won't get too many people. But over time, the more people will go. But what you're doing is, here's my story, here's the value, write this way. And write this way is your sales funnel. And we'll get into more of that later. But that automation. So you do the same thing. Here's some great content. Here's some value, write this way. Look at what I have to sell. And you don't do that every time. Mostly you do value, 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 value. By the way, here's what I can sell. Value, value, value. Here's what I can sell. People tend to try and sell too much, and social storytelling is not about selling. It's about engaging and adding value. And then they get to know, I can trust you, and then they'll buy something. But it's not the same as transactional where you're asking them to buy all the time. In fact, if you do that, you will turn people off. So it's really about content. So why you do it more times a day? Because you can give them more value. Yeah. The more value you give and the more people it touches, the more of them will decide to self-select and go through your process and then buy something. But it's all about the value, and it's about how much value you can bring and how often you can do it.
Right. Okay. So it's not just a case of content is king, because anyone can chuck content out there, but it's got to add value to whoever's watching. Yeah, that's very important. Now, a question I get asked very often is, how do you break the overwhelm of having to be consistent with generating content? Because for some people, it's like, that sounds like kitchen sink mentality. What do you say to that, Martin?
Yeah, it's not easy. It's not easy to create content. But we've developed a process for it that uses what we call content production automation. And there's lots of programs out there. One of them's Ripple, for instance, Animoto, videos with the OZE. There's a whole bunch of them that generate content, and you kind of just have to put in some words. A lot of them are AI-based. So if you can get programs that will generate a flying logo for you, or you can get them done on sites like Fiverr pretty inexpensively as well. But you want to automate as much of that process. And the other key thing is, it doesn't have to look like NBC or broadcast. It doesn't have to be that level. It just has to be good. You have pretty good production values. You put up a light. You have a pretty good camera on your phone already. And you aim it at you instead of the sky. As long as lighting is really the key thing, and sound, but lighting is the real big one. As long as you have adequate lighting, you don't really have to worry about too much more. Getting the content out there is more important than making it look perfect like TV. And so the process for doing that, there's lots of programs that can help you with that. Of course, we curate and do that for our clients, but really you want to find programs that will automate the creation of video content, and there's lots of those.
Right. Okay. Well, that's really important point about automation when it comes to breaking the overwhelm. And I think a couple of key things you said there that I would summarize this by is that it's not just that content is king, it has to be valuable content, but also when you do that, content equals attention, attention equals status, status equals eyeballs, eyeballs equals revenue.
That's right.
I have to say that very slowly. If I say it fast, I trip over. But you've been saying this over and over again. So that's very important.
You have been listening to the Modern Samurai interviews with Martin Ricketts, the Digital Samurai. Hosted by Anita Narayan. On the next episode, we'll discuss the critical importance of content-based marketing.
Don't settle. Do work you love. Design your future. Discover the best way to grow your business. Design your future. Monetize your story. Powered by Digital Samurai. Get started now. Scan the code or go to designyourfuture.biz.